gentlemen, welcome back here to the 8th episode of the NEXXTCAR podcast. That is right, we have been doing it now for 2 months. I can't believe it. Nick, can you believe we have been doing this for 2 months now?
No, it just seems like the other week we started, so it's been a lot of fun, and looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, you're good.
Tennessee, how about you, man? You've been here all 8 weeks as well.
Dude, it's flown by. Like, I can't believe it's already been 2 months. I feel like we've, talked about a good bit of things, but there's so much more stuff coming up to talk about. It just feels like we're just getting started.
Absolutely. And then we got Keystone joining us for a second time. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, nothing much.
All right, well, we have got a ton of stuff to talk about NEXXTCAR and NASCAR. This past weekend, NEXXTCAR had our first championship 4 race, and what a race it was at Texas. Let's go ahead and hear it from 2 of the guys who partook in that. Nick, start us off with how your championship 4 race went at Texas.
Don't really want to talk about that one. That was a rough finish to it. We had a really good truck, and we were quick all race long. Ran probably top 3 most of the race, and just came down to fuel at the end. And with me out front, that last little stint that we had, I was probably half a lap short, maybe a little bit more, and probably would have ran out in the middle of 1 and 2 on the last lap, so I didn't have a choice but to come in and pit. Unfortunately, so that was a rough way to go, and we didn't get much stage points, so we got to go into Phoenix and hopefully run the table, and we got to find some speed there and give them hell next week, so hopefully we can have a chance at it.
Absolutely, yeah, you definitely didn't have the start to the championship round that you wanted, but the man who did, that was Tennessee. You didn't win the race, but you came out of the first race with a 2-point lead.
Yeah, Nick pretty much hit it on the head. That race, both on and off the track, was extremely interesting. You had aggressive driving on the track, and then you had flares heating up off the track. I want to go ahead and apologize to the viewers. A little update. Sorry how that whole interview went down last week. I'm sorry to Ronnie as well, or yesterday. But everything's cooled off now. It's all good. We're all family here. But on the track, like we were saying, really awesome race, and we had a spoiler. I mean, Trenton was up there all season. Sure didn't make the Final Four, but gets his first win. So congrats to the man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was great to see Pierce getting it to victory lane. I mean, he ran second in the standings basically all season long. So he had the speed, he had the consistency, just couldn't quite put it all together to get that elusive win. But yeah, finally getting it done. And you mentioned it, the tempers flared last night. I said pre-race, it was part of my intro. Tempers were gonna flare, sparks were gonna fly. Well, I sure didn't expect that.
Yeah, it was really.
It'd have been more fitting.
You said what? I can't hear you.
I said you probably should have just had him run at Martinsville last night. It'd been more fitting.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, it was really competitive and really aggressive driving. There was blocking going on. 10 was having some lagging issues, so he wanted to keep us all behind him. So he was blocking a little bit, and then I was making pretty aggressive moves going into the corners. Not necessarily dive bombing people, but if there was room, I was gonna stick my nose down there. So you had to get track position and get every position that you could. So it was really, really aggressive, but we were driving our ass off last night, and we're gonna have to do it one more race to get a championship.
Yes, sir, absolutely. But that is enough with NEXXTCAR. We have got a ton to talk about here tonight. We got 2 races we've got to make up for. But before we move on to the races, let's talk about the little bit of information that we got today from NASCAR concerning the new Hall of Fame ballots. An unbelievable list of drivers here on the 2023 list of Hall of Fame ballot. You got Matt Kenseth, Sam Ard, AJ Foyt finally making it on there. You've got Carl Edwards, several other key guys growing up. Neil Bonnet, Harry Gant, ton of big names back in the day finding themselves on the 2023 ballot.
Ricky Rudd.
Yes, Ricky Rudd. Yes, sir. AJ Foyt.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I don't know if Keystone wants to hit on it first. Just no, he's a little bit older than me in 10, so
Damn.
maybe. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like maybe he
Honestly,
can hit on some of the older drivers. I didn't see them
I
race a
wasn't
ton.
I wasn't around whenever this man was racing, but the fact that Neil Bonnet's just now on it
Mm-hmm.
is a process that is long overdue. That man should have been in there already.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
The man was definitely a huge part of NASCAR growing up. I mean, he was good friends with Dale Earnhardt, and just the
Mhm.
history runs deep with NASCAR and the Bonnet. I mean, hell,
You-
isn't Neil
on
Bonnet
that,
part of the Alabama gang?
Yeah,
yes, he
So,
was.
I mean, seriously, I mean, he is a huge part of NASCAR. I mean, hell, they have a whole straightaway at Talladega named after him.
Yep.
yeah. No, Neil Bonnet. There's some huge names, and it's hard to just pick. The two drivers from that list. No, I think with Dale Jr. getting in on the first ballot, you got to look at Matt Kenseth
Mm-hmm.
being on the list. His stats are fairly similar, but he's got that championship under his belt, and I just think if Dale Jr. makes it in, I think Matt Kenseth should be in there. Just watching him race and know what he's brought to the sport in the early 2000s, and he's a very likable guy, and I think a lot of people remember the incident with Joey Logano
Mm-hmm.
when they
That's
think
why I'm voting
this.
for him.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth is he was great race car driver, won Rookie of the Year, got the championship. I think he should get in, but there's also other very deserving drivers that should as well. So it's hard to just pick one or two from that list.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we move on to Tennessee, I do want to make this quick point real quick. So you mentioned about championships with Matt Kenseth. Another
Mhm.
name on that list, a huge fan favorite, Carl Edwards. Do you
Yes.
think he is deserving to get into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, even though he does not have that championship that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I he's one that's on the fence,
Mhm.
but I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think no, he's one of those drivers where he was a top driver in the sport for that time that he drove. It sucks that he cut his career short because I think he still could probably be driving today.
Oh, 100%.
I think his stats would, be up there, and hopefully, with the teams that he was running with Gibbs or anywhere else he would have went, it would be a top tier ride, and he might have a championship, and that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. What you got, Tennessee?
Well, Nick, I hit that perfect almost. He stole a lot of things I was going to say. Like you said before, I'm a bit of the young gun here. I wasn't there for a lot of the drivers that are on the Hall of Fame ballot this year, but I can talk about Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards a good bit growing up watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Kenseth, I believe, probably will get in this year. I feel like if Junior is a first ballot, I feel like Kenseth should be.
Mm-hmm.
Guy won a championship, had a lot of crown jewel wins, and really was just a great. I mean, I think a lot of people hate on Kenseth for two reasons. A little bit, he gets a bad mark for the Joe Logano situation and racing probably a year or two too long. It felt like that last year when he was at Chip Ganassi. Ooh, that was rough. But I don't think that you should define a man's career like that. Like I don't think anybody's defining Jimmy Johnson for how his last 3 years went.
But he didn't
So
want to
I
race
think
that last year. He didn't have that planned.
yeah,
It was the whole
he
Kyle
was a
Larson
replacement.
incident
exactly.
that brought him back.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. A lot of people forget about that. He had no intention of driving, and when the Kyle Larson thing happened, Kenseth got asked to do it, and he did. So I think Kenseth should get in. Carl Edwards is an interesting one. I think Nick hit it dead on. I don't think he's a first ballot. I think he should be in eventually. I think really a lot of these guys will probably be in the Hall of Fame eventually. It just might not be this year. Um, but Carl Edwards is a guy, if he doesn't retire early, I think he probably ends up winning a championship, and then we wouldn't be talking about it. He'd be a first ballot.
Mm-hmm.
But he retired at the top of his game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a bad Joey Logano block away
Yep.
from winning a championship, and then he walks away. So that's a rough one to swallow, but it's a definitely interesting little group there we've got this year.
Yeah, one guy I want to hit on that isn't a driver is Tim Brewer. No, he had 53 wins, 55 pole as a crew chief, and no, he's won 2 championships. So with Kelly Yarborough and Darrell Waltrip, he's definitely one of the best crew chiefs. During that era, and he crew chief for a long time. So I think he's someone to look at as well. There's just so many names on that list. It's hard to pick. If you could pick, they probably Matt Kenseth and Tim Brewer, but Neil Bonnet is well deserving too. There's tons of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And
There's one more.
Go ahead.
Kurt, and I'm having a hard time pronouncing this. I can't remember. Shelmerdine was the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt, 4 championships and 46 wins. Why is he not in there yet?
Yeah, and then, like I was going to say, it brings up the question of other people like Jeff Burton. Is he really deserving of it right now? When, like you just said, there are so many other more deserving people out there.
Yeah. No, I think Jeff Burton is kind of like, kind of in the same category as Carl Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have championship or anything like that. He's got some wins, but he ran really well in Xfinity, but I don't think he's deserving of first ballot. Yeah, put him in.
Janet Guthrie.
Huh?
Janet Guthrie.
Who?
The first woman to compete in a NASCAR race.
All right, I'm moving on.
Ooh.
No, I'm kidding.
Hey, I do want to throw one thing. Keep in mind for the Hall of Fame, if I believe I read this correctly, Jimmy Johnson and Chad Ganous are eligible next year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get in the Hall of Fame, you might want to do it this year because you might be waiting a little bit. Because those two, they getting in next year.
100%.
Just letting you know.
Ballot.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, no doubt. It should be unanimous. So it might be a little bit of pressure for these guys. They might have to wait a couple of years. They don't get in this year.
Absolutely, yes, sir. But let's move on to your races here for the Truck Series. They did not race this last weekend at Richmond, but they did race 2 weekends ago at COTA. What a race it was. You saw a little bit of a feud there between Kyle Busch and I believe it was William Byron, or was it Bowman?
Bowman.
So it was Bowman there in the last couple laps, giving the win to Zane Smith. I personally didn't watch the race, but it was very interesting. COTA put on one hell of a show that entire weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a race that for trucks, you had a couple of situations. It felt like Kyle Busch was the best truck throughout the day, and I believe there was a late caution which caused Bowman and then have a chance on him. And Bowman really found himself in a little controversy. I felt like he was in the controversy, even if it wasn't fully his fault, in Cup, obviously, but he found both Truck and Cup to be there at the end. And Truck, that last corner, it looked like Bowman knew that he couldn't let Kyle get away. And so he really dove it in there, but Friesen didn't want to let Bowman pass, so he dove it in there. They both overshot the corner, took out Kyle. Zane Smith moves on. But it was an exciting race. I will get to the other COTA races here in a bit, but COTA did not disappoint at all.
No, and it was nice to see them actually able to get out there without the rain interfering and show the true test of not only the new cars, but what these drivers' skill level is on that track, because that is a very difficult track.
Yeah, it didn't disappoint at all. It was great racing all throughout the weekend. It was good to see them really put on a show this time around, see what the cars could do around that track, and the trucks were absolutely crazy. The racing and then Zane Smith winning, that was an awesome finish. All all three series had great finishes, great racing all around. So um, I think Coda should stay for a long, long time. It's one of the better road course races, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Even though road courses always produce great racing, even though a lot of NASCAR fans don't like the road courses, but even going back several years, road courses have been pretty great finishes.
Absolutely. What you got, Keystone?
I mean, y'all basically hit on all the major points already. I mean, like, all y'all said, it didn't disappoint. It was some fantastic racing. The last lap maneuvers, the dive bombs, the pushing, the beating and banging, doing everything they can to get, the edge to get across that line first. And if you don't like three cars or three trucks beating and banging on each other on the last lap to try to win, then you're not a real NASCAR fan.
Yeah, we'll get back to that here in a little bit.
You gonna say that every time I say something?
No, I'm just saying, because we got the Cup race to cover, and it's going to bring up a little bit of a agree to disagree. We'll call it that for right now. But moving on to the Xfinity Series, who did race at Coda and Richmond this past weekend. AJ Allmendinger getting it done at Coda. Ty Gibbs getting it done at Richmond.
Congrats, AJ. Yeah, I guess, for Ty, too. I mean, he did a little bit of pushing of his own, which, I mean, track racing, I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has not been shy this year with the bumper, and especially he does not care if you're his teammate or not.
I think he took a play from Carl Edwards'
Yeah, I mean, it's same track, and Carl Edwards did that to Kyle Busch a couple years ago. So yeah, absolutely, and it's Joe Gibbs Racing, so they definitely have some teammates who don't exactly care if they're teammates.
Yeah, Coda for Xfinity went. Oh,
go ahead.
Nope, okay. The Coda race for Xfinity went about exactly how you expect. I mean, AJ Allmendinger is probably, arguably, if not the best road courser in NASCAR right now.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him, win the Xfinity Series, not a surprise at all.
No.
I was actually surprised that Ross was there to have a chance, and obviously, I think he spun out or something at the end there. But AJ ran away with that thing. He was the dominant car all race. Richmond was a different story. I know I'm skipping ahead, but that last lap and Gibbs, I mean, we talked about it. Gibbs doesn't care. He's shown it very much. He's not there to be friends. He's trying to win races. The good news for John Hunter, I know he's mad about it because Gibbs gave him no chance to win. He just flat out ran him up the track. There was no way John Hunter was in that race with the move Gibbs made. Good news for John Hunter, that doesn't really matter. Everybody's watching John Hunter right now. He wants to earn, get back to Cup and have a good ride. He just has to keep running good in truck and Xfinity. And if he puts finishes like that, he could have easily won that race. That's what teams are going to see. They're not going to see that, oh, he finished second. Why couldn't he win? They saw how he couldn't win. So I know he's upset about it, but really, if I'm him, just move on. Worry about trucks. Gibbs isn't your main focus right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but congrats to Sam Meyer as well for winning the Dash for Cash. Can't believe I said that.
Yeah.
It hurt, but congrats to the kid.
Yeah, that Sam Mayer had a good run to get that extra cash for him in this team, and I think with Coda, like Ten said, Allmendinger's the best road course racer. He showed that in Xfinity and in Cup. He won Indy road course last year.
Mm-hmm.
Road America, like he can win at any road course. Best there is. So with Richmond, controversy there. I think Ty's running for a championship, and Nemechek's not. So with him moving Nemechek, I'm fine with the move. It's hard racing. He needs every win, every point he can get, and I think he did what he had to do. I love seeing the hard racing. It sucks that he ran him up the track and didn't even give him a fighting chance to even race back to the line. And no, you could see the disappointment on John Hunter's face, but no, he's just racing for trophies at that point, and he still had a good finish. But no, congrats to Ty. He's an aggressive racer, and I think he's going to be, someone to look out for come championship time and for a few years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. The kid definitely has the skill to beat a guy without having to run him up the track. But this year so far, Ty Gibbs has lucked into so many wins. I mean,
yeah.
Richmond, he was up there. Atlanta, just the luck of the draw there, basically, with that win. Mm-hmm. So the kid has the skill to not have to move a guy. He can beat him with speed, but he just chose to use that bumper.
I do want to throw one thing out there. Go ahead, Keeson.
I said that was a common theme in the Gibbs camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But one thing I do want to throw out
you saw that with the KBM trucks at Atlanta too. Mm-hmm. You see controversy there with one teammate helping another one, and then one hanging out to dry. And I just feel like that's the whole Toyota camp.
Toyotas work great together at speedways, but you get them away from the super speedways, and everyone themselves.
Yep.
I think that's why people don't really like Toyota a lot, because it seems like Toyota always has some of the most drama in there compared to other manufacturers. It always seems like they got inner stuff happening all the time, no matter what series it is, who's the drivers. It always seems to be a conflict going on.
I think part of I think part of the conflict is just they have so many good drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have such great talent in their pool that they're all hunting for wins, and they're all up there every single race.
Yep.
Wait a minute. They don't drive in the truck series?
What was that?
I said, don't Tennessee drive a Toyota in the truck series?
Look, I don't like Toyota. I was forced to run this truck, okay, 2 seasons ago. Don't talk about it.
That explains a lot.
All right. Well,
one thing I do want to mention before we before we move off Xfinity, I wanted to mention something real quick. Shout out to Rye Haburst. I hate him, but I think he's overrated as crap. But he got top 5 Richmond. It's really rare to see the 98 do that nowadays in Xfinity. So good job for him. And I want to shout out the guy who in his second Xfinity race, the iRacer. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He was racing the 38 car last week, his second race, and got a top 10. That's it. Thank you. Second race, passed the most cars during the race of any car, and brings it home 10th. That's awesome. Can he be the next William Byron? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he also raced at, where was he? He didn't do good. He finished like 36, but this was his second race. But, yeah, like you said, it was good to see him finally up there in the top 10.
So does that mean we all have a chance?
Yeah, right.
You never know. Hey, call me up, NASCAR. I'm available.
All right, well, we're definitely moving on now. All right. So, Cup race. Let's start them off with COTA. With what could be probably the most controversial move we may see all season long. AJ Allmendinger stuck his nose where there was a little bit of room, moved Chastain up the track. Chastain retaliated, wrecking AJ, and Bowman just happened to be there. Thoughts on it?
Last lap, it's a racing move.
Yeah, 100%. I know I'm kind of biased, but as a racer, everybody out there wants to win.
To catch him if he just runs a solid lap in front.
Mine isn't. My heart rate's through the roof. His might be 149. I'm anxious and excited for him. I think, again, just like I said, utilize your strong suits. He did a great job through the stadium section, gaining some ground.
If I'm his spotter, I'm telling him everything's in front of him. Don't look at that mirror.
Sure, it was bigger and more. There was a bigger consequence for AJ getting dumped than Ross being moved. I understand that completely, and Ross even admitted that he is expecting a return because he understands. You do something like that, you're bound to get it back, and that's completely fine. You got to realize the situation. Your first win, you're going out there. You gotta go get it. No matter what it takes, you gotta go get it. That's about all I gotta say on it. I don't hate the move at all personally, but I understand people aren't going to agree with that.
Yeah, for me, I'm not really biased in this situation because you had 3 Chevy drivers up there. You had a Hendrick driver. I love Allmendinger. And then Chastain, I'm a fan of too. He's aggressive. And he's a good driver. And he's had great cars the last couple of weeks, and he's gotten pretty close. So I think he was just really hungry, being on the cusp of his first win and being in that position. If he sees the chance to get there and move him, he'll move him. And he moved him out of the way. Took out Bowman in the process. But I would do the same thing in that situation. If Ronnie was in front of me, I would dump his ass too.
Oh, 100%. We already know that.
He won't open this one up.
Oh yeah, I know. It's coming tonight. Just watch.
Moved him.
Yeah.
Honestly, just like he was talking about how close he's been this season, to winning the second and third.
You're gonna have to move them both.
Few weeks in a row. I think the fact that it almost slipped away. He played well.
Beats and bangs his way to turn 20 and up one corner to the checkered flag. Hey, I don't mind that. He got moved and moved him back.
Absolutely.
I don't have any issue with what he did. I think it was a racing move. You got to get your first win at some point, and he was there, and he just did what he had to do to get it done.
And I like AJ. I say I'm biased, but Ross Chastain and Chase Briscoe have made it known are my boys in Cup. But AJ's my Xfinity guy. I love AJ. AJ's an awesome guy, awesome story. But in this situation, I understand both sides, and I see both their points. But like we've said, I think it's just a racing thing. And sure, AJ has every right to be upset about it, but he's really just got to move on. He's got to understand the situation and go get him next time. We know AJ's going to probably win one of these road courses in Cup this season. Right. So next time he's there, go get it done.
Yes, sir. And how about Richmond? I absolutely loved the race at Richmond. It brought back the kind of old-style racing that you used to see all the time growing up. Pit strategy was huge. Crew chiefs actually had to work for this win. It wasn't, hey, we're going to have a caution in 22 laps. You're fine. Go out there and push. There were very rare cautions, and these pit crew, they had to have key stops. The drivers had to do their job, and they absolutely did it perfectly. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick made it work out perfect for them.
Sorry, I got vomit right there.
Yeah, the Cup race at Richmond was way different than any Cup race I really think we've seen this season. It was a full-on strategy race the whole time. It was kind of funny because my roommate walks in after class. I'm sitting there watching, he had gone to the store. Sorry, it was Sunday. He walks in and he's really confused because there's a bunch of guys lapped down. You got this dude randomly winning, but I was like, you can't really look at the scoreboard right now because this race was completely different. Sure, Byron was winning at one point, but we knew that guys had faster tires that might make it. There was all kinds of strategies all around the track. Everybody was doing something different. And ultimately, I don't think the fastest car won, but the best strategy won. And Dan Hamlin and Kevin Harvick hit it perfect, just making it 4 laps before the finish to the leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the fastest driver probably didn't win. But you know what? Like you said, the strategy worked out perfect, and that's what racing's all about. You don't have to have the speed to win. You just got to be smart enough to win.
Yeah, it's good to have speed, but no, you gotta think about it a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
To have that strategy, no, it did bring back some memories of some older races of just having to have strategy in the race and not just
Staging.
speed and just okay, it's people hate the stages sometimes, but no, it definitely you had to think about the stages and where the brakes were and how the tires were wearing, and there was just so many elements to that race. It's hard to pinpoint everyone's strategy. Some were pitting early, some were running long. Uh, some wanted to pick up the stage points, and no, others were thinking long goal of where to be at the end at the win. But yeah, it was really interesting race. It was crazy to see Hamlin how quick he came back. No, he was a lap down at one point and then drove all the way around and got the lead. So, and Harvick was right there with him. So that strategy worked. Obviously, he was much quicker at the end of the race than Byron. Byron had old tires and ran long. It was just different mixes, and it's crazy how it all came together at the end. Just making it in time to get that lead. But it was a great race. Richmond puts on a good show, and congrats to Denny on a big win there.
Yeah, absolutely. You said not everyone likes the stages. Well, I'll be honest. Sunday, I did not like
Yeah.
it. Ryan had a 3-second lead at the end of stage one, gone. And then after that, he led maybe like 20, 25 more laps, and that was all he had. Everyone else was doing everything they did right, setting up their car perfectly, but it just seemed like his was not set up in the second and third stage very well. I mean, he led every lap in stage one, fell back and finished seventh, but then the stages worked out perfect for everyone else who's able to get their car on the pit road, get everything figured out. And one thing, while I'm on that topic of it, you saw not only different pit strategies playing out with when to pit, but you also saw pit crews doing completely different strategies as well. I believe it was Joe Gibbs who every crew member was running around the front of the car versus going around the back for the rear tire changer, and that way they didn't interfere with the fuel man. So that was interesting to see some guys pulling out some different strategy, not only in the car and for the car, but the pit crew members as well.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was
yeah,
weird.
and obviously it worked because it obviously worked though, because Kyle Busch's pit crew had the fastest ever NASCAR 4-tire pit stop that weekend.
Well, wouldn't you if you were pissed off if you did something 200 laps earlier and NASCAR just got pissed at you with 15 to go?
Well, yeah. I'm sure I would be mad as well.
That
for
would light a
one,
fire under my ass too. I would be fuming.
I have to admit, I was laughing
for sure.
Yeah, I laughed at the time, but I also found it ridiculous at the same time.
I get it's a rule, but it's one of those things that's pretty obvious to see. Like, exactly. I mean, the second they point it out on TV, it's like, oh wow, yeah, that's definitely a piece of tape.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's the argument. Well, they broke the rules, and we all agree to that. There's a new rule, you can't do that.
Right.
But NASCAR needs to pay a little bit more attention, and it's their job to make sure they enforce those rules, and they know what the rules are, just like everyone else, and they got to pay more attention on enforcing those rules. That's pretty bad. 200 laps, according to them. I'm sure it wasn't 200. It probably was like 100 something. I'm sure it's a little exaggerated. But even then, that's still ridiculous. Something like that. I mean, max of 10 laps, there should be something said. So,
right.
Yeah.
And the insane part is he still battled back and got a ninth place finish. So a decent day for him. But yeah, definitely a huge mistake on NASCAR's part.
Even though I hate him, that's just KFB for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had to act, because if they wouldn't have, then I guarantee you everybody else would have been throwing tape on the front of it too.
And I get that, but
100%.
Catch it 100 laps prior, not in the last 15, where it literally takes him right out of the race.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Nick?
Yeah, no, I was unaware of the rule, and I didn't notice that they couldn't put tape on it until they caught it during the broadcast. And
I didn't either.
yeah, I had no idea that they couldn't put tape on the front, and just a big mistake putting it on the grill instead of the duct there. So that was a huge mistake by the team member, but yeah, they should have caught it way before, like right after the pit stop. No, the official at the pit box should have called it and was like, "Hey, there's tape on the front," and let them know. Or no, a few laps in, no, NASCAR sees it either on tape or see it on the broadcast and was like, "Hey, like you got tape on the grill and bring them down. Don't call it 150 laps later." To take him out of the whole race. It just ruined his day, even though he still got a top 10 out of it. But it kind of ruined my fantasy a tiny bit with points. But
yeah, same.
Yeah. No, I think NASCAR effed up a little bit on that, and he kind of hinted on if they didn't call it, every team would have been trying it. That's a big part of it, I think. And they were like, yeah, we have to call it when they finally realized. And it sucks that it came that late.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned why didn't the official in the pit box catch it? You can't really blame him because I believe when they were talking about it, it was only off by like 4 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So to the naked eye, in a 12-second pit stop, you're not going to catch that right away. But there's hundreds of cameras around a racetrack, including drones. Right. They should have caught it 2, 3, 4 laps most after the pit stop.
Right.
To be fair, it is Fox, and Fox can't even capture a wreck on the track half the time. So it doesn't fully surprise me that they missed the tape, but that's a discussion for
Fox
another
is
day.
a lot better than NBC. You will not change my mind.
Yeah.
Have you watched the pre-race though?
All right, I'll give you that. The pre-race this weekend, I don't know what it was, but it was awkward as hell. Like, everything about it was just weird. No one was in the right mindset. They were all rushing around. I don't know what it was, but it was just weird.
They all look like Michael Waltrip on the grid.
Yes. They looked out of place. There was no chemistry. It was just the conversations they had were awkward between Clint Boyer, Chad Knaus, and Myers.
What did y'all think of Chad Knaus' debut in the booth, though?
A lot better than Danica Patrick, I can tell you that much.
He did.
Yeah.
I'm happy that we had a crew chief in the booth for that kind of race because it worked perfect for him. If it had been a boring race, had a fast car, there'd been not much he could have said. But Chad Knaus hit everything, every single strategy he had a comment for. That was really cool. They picked the perfect race to have Chad Knaus in there, and I think he did a fantastic job.
And actually, he picked to be in there that race.
Yes, he picked.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. They got lucky.
Him his option which race he wanted to do. He said Richmond.
Yep.
But I think having Boyer, the former driver, 2 years retired. His knowledge of the recent driving experience, plus Chad Knaus, the crew chief, his experience, the way that they communicate with this versus that, I think it turned out great.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot
we'll give you
kick
that.
Clint Boyer out of the booth. You get rid of him, you might as well just kiss that broadcast goodbye. His personality is perfect.
Yeah, I love.
I'll give you that. Fox
He's
has
funny
the better
as hell,
booth for sure.
He definitely brings some personality to the booth, obviously.
And who else is going to give $10,000 away every week?
Yeah, right.
I know.
Yeah.
But no, I think Chad being up in the booth brought a different dynamic up there. The strategy wise and what the crew chiefs are thinking and what the teams are doing. So that was good to see. It brought another element to that broadcast, definitely.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Well, that pretty much wraps up this. Any closing comments or anything y'all want to talk about?
Where are they racing at this weekend?
This weekend they are at Martinsville.
Martinsville.
I'm looking forward to it.
These
Blaney
three
always
races
does good, but Truex, I think, is going to continue to reign at Martinsville, and I think he's going to be the guy to beat.
Son of a gun! I was gonna put him on my fantasy. Don't tell him all that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
yeah.
There's a few guys that I have. Just with the new car, it's hard to figure out who's going to be strong. Like Toyota's been kind of struggling, and they finally hit on something at Richmond. And I'm maybe thinking Truex as well, but no.
Maybe Busch gets over the hump at Martinsville.
Yeah, Kyle Busch always runs good there too.
Fortunately,
there's a few drivers I have in mind, but it's going to be hard to pick one. It's going to be kind of like you got to look at practice, and it's going to probably be a long term, like how long they run. So kind of look at their averages and stuff and see who's the strongest.
And that brought up another topic I did want to talk about tonight here. You said, and I quote, it would be 2 months into the season before we realize who exactly is, figuring out this new car. We just got done with our 6th race, Nick. We've had 6 different winners.
Yep.
No one has showed themselves above the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think a little bit. With the different track styles that we've been at, you've had pretty much a different style race the first 2 month and a half, 2 months. But with that, no, I think you've seen speed out of Hendrick, obviously.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
3 out of the 4.
That 9 car needs something. But points leader, though.
Debatable.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Ryan Blaney's listed on top in NASCAR.com. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They're tied.
Ryan has top 5s.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends really on the track. Like some races, it's like, okay, Hendrick seems pretty strong. And then, you go to others and it's like, okay, Penske, obviously, Daytona and the first few races, they seemed strong. Blaney seemed strong at the beginning of Richmond. And then he's been strong pretty much every week, though. And then Toyota's kind of hit or miss on different tracks. But they've been right there. I think Busch has been there. Hamlin struggled besides the win at Richmond. Came out of nowhere. But, Truex has kind of been, mid-pack as well. So they're not definitely the strongest. And I think there's still some growing pains with the car. And it's not going to get any easier. You got Martinsville, a totally different style track. You're probably going to be going off notes of the Coliseum, how to set it up, and what you're looking for there. And then after that, I think you have the Bristol Dart. So it's like, okay, well, how do I set it up for that track? And so you're going to tons of different tracks. I'm kind of excited for this short track stint between Richmond and Martinsville and then Bristol, and so it's gonna be fun the next couple weeks. And I think Larson obviously has already been running some dirt races at Bristol, and I think he's gonna be one to watch. I think it's gonna be exciting in the next couple weeks.
Absolutely, and you were mentioning a bunch of the bigger teams struggling. Well, I want to mention a quote-unquote smaller team who has absolutely been on fire this year, and that is Trackhouse. Chastain just got the win at COTA. Suarez definitely had a car to win at COTA before he spun out, I believe, at the beginning of Stage 2 or Stage 3. Don't remember which one. But both those guys have just been great this season.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, Suarez. Go ahead.
I think with the success that Trackhouse is having right now, because Suarez and Chastain both been top 5, top 10 consistently week in and week out. Look back to the dirt race at Bristol last year. Suarez was up there battling the first half of the race. And that's that he's had this year. who knows? Maybe he gets that first win under his belt next weekend.
Yeah, Suarez definitely has had good speed. Don't forget, like Suarez almost won Auto Club. If he doesn't run the outside, I think he has a really good chance to win that race. And yeah, Ronnie kind of mentioned stage racing earlier, and I don't want to I like stage racing except the road courses for the exact reason why I'm Suarez. You have to choose either points or track position. Suarez and the best car in stage one chose to take his points and then gets wrecked and has no chance to win because of stage racing. Don't really like it at road courses, but yeah, Trackhouse has been on fire. Like we just talked about, who's the big driver right now. There isn't really one, but if you picked your Final Four right now, you're probably going to throw Ryan Blaney in there. You're probably going to have to throw a Toyota in there. I'd probably pick Kyle right now out of the bunch. You're definitely going to throw a Hendrick car in there, probably Larson or Chase. And then a dark horse probably would be Ross Chastain right now, in my opinion. That might be a little bold, but you look at the races he hasn't wrecked, and he's been up there every race. And don't count out Reddick. I mean, Reddick's had an off week last week, but he's shown speed too. This season has been wild. No one has shown any dominance. There's guys that are showing really good speed. It's way too early to predict for sure, but you can already tell this season is going to be extremely exciting going forward because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think, like you guys touched upon, it's a very exciting season. You have so many different winners already, and I think some of these guys are probably going to feel the pressure in the next few weeks to get it figured out, to try to get a win, because I think you're going to probably be around the 16 winners that can make the playoffs, and then you're going to have to make it in on points. I think you need to run well, obviously, but it's going to be a different winner every single week. There's some really good drivers that still haven't won. I think with Trackhouse, they're very, very steady right out of the gate this season. I think, Chastain's been up front every single race. Suarez is right there as well. So they've really surprised me in their second year. And just having two cars, you would think, maybe some growing pains with the new car and adding a car, and they just taken off right from the get-go, and they've been probably the strongest team out there.
Do we have a repeat winner this week?
I don't think so. Like I said,
I don't think so either.
My picks are either Blaney or Truex. They both have been fantastic, and Chase the last couple seasons has really stepped it up at Martinsville. So I think it's going to be one of those three that are sitting in victory lane at the end of this one.
Yeah, I think your first repeat winner will be Larson at Dirt Bristol in 2 weeks. I think that'll be your first repeat winner. That's just, maybe a bold prediction there. I don't even think it's that bold.
I don't think he wins.
Yeah. You don't think he wins?
I think Christopher Bell is going to be your sleeper pick for Bristol.
I don't know about it. Christopher Bell lost talent last time at Dirt Bristol and took Larson out.
All right. But to go off of that was one of the worst track compacts you could have. It poured.
True.
The track was completely washed out. They didn't have good conditions. Christopher Bell on the dirt, is he Kyle Larson's match? No. But I think Christopher Bell is your perfect sleeper pick when it comes to Bristol dirt.
Yeah, if not Larson,
for sure.
Christopher Bell as well. But also Reddick. Reddick was really good. I can see him just ripping the top there and just making it happen. Logano surprised me last year, but I think Suarez ran really well, and I think that's someone to look at as well. But it's really going to come down to practice and qualifying to see who's quick and who can handle this car on the dirt.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's
whole
different
different car. You got to
remember
remember that.
How this car handles on the dirt, this new gen car, because there is a lot more stability to the car this year. They added that rear diffuser, which adds a ton more downforce. So it's going to be interesting to see how the cars handle with that added stability on the dirt.
Yeah, with the cars being yawed out though, I know once they have no side force on this car compared to the other ones, so I'm not sure how how it'll react, especially with the diffuser on the bottom. Like, does the diffuser lay too low where it's going to hit the dirt and upset the car? I'm not sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how it handles.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another question I do have is I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the rear diffuser is a must-have on the car by NASCAR.
Yeah.
So if that gets ripped
sure.
off, if someone slides it and catches it, especially at the top of the track, and catches it on a mound of dirt and that thing gets ripped off, because you've seen it hanging there loose in prior races. So if that thing gets ripped off, that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyone else got any arguments? Good God, this ain't last night. Any other topics y'all want to talk about before we close it out?
The last thing I want to note, I can't believe no one said anything. Dale Jr.'s back this weekend. He races Xfinity at Martinsville.
I completely
So that's
forgot.
going to be cool seeing. Yeah, Dale Jr. will be racing, so it'll be kind of cool to see how he races. And yeah.
Yeah, I actually think he actually might have a good chance if he, runs pretty good and has a good car. I think he has a chance of winning it, at least, getting probably a top 5 out of it. He runs pretty good at Martinsville, so he should get a good finish there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited for our race tonight coming up in 15 minutes. So
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Championship 4 Cup NEXXTCAR. It's going to be a good race at Texas, and ready to kick some ass.
I'm excited to see UNC basketball beat the shit out of Kansas.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but I can dream it.
Dream.
Yes, sir. But that is going to wrap it up for the 8th episode of the NEXXTCAR podcast. 2 months of doing this. Thank you guys for all your support. Everyone tuning at Spotify. We actually just hit over 100 listeners this weekend. So definitely appreciate the support. Keep it up, and we will catch you guys here, like Nick said, in about 15 minutes to bring you guys the Cup Championship 4 first race of the championship round. But that's going to do it for this one. Catch you guys next Monday when we do